Then he says the several big. What have we? I'm trying to see where we're at. All right. He says the several big palaces I had explored were mere living places, great dining halls and sleeping apartments. I could find no machinery, no appliances of any kind. Yet these people were clothed in pleasant fabrics that must at times need renewal, and their sandals, though undecorated, were fairly complex specimens of metalwork. Somehow such things must be made, and the little people displayed no vestige of creative tendency. There were no shops, no workshops, no sign of importations among them. They spent all their life in playing gently, in bathing in the river, in making love in a half playful fashion, in eating fruit and sleeping. I could not see how things were kept going. So this is sort of like a Brave New World situation. People are basically raised with this sense of like they just want to do the material and carnal things in life. They just want pleasure. They want to satisfy their lust and their need for food and sleeping and all these basic human needs, but they have no greater purpose. They're just there for the pleasure of life. They're not there for any meaning. So what this is no productivity, just degeneracy and indulgence. Or maybe I should have rephrased that. No productivity leads to degeneracy and indulgence. And then he says, as I was watching some of the little people bathing in a shallow, one of them was seized with a cramp and began drifting downstream. The main current ran rather swiftly, but not too strongly for even a moderate swimmer. So these people couldn't swim. They couldn't even swim, and yet they were bathing all the time. And then it says, it will give you an idea, therefore, of the strange deficiency in these creatures when I tell you that none made the slightest attempt to rescue the weakly crying little thing which was drowning before their eyes. One of their own people was drowning before their eyes. They didn't care. They did nothing to rescue her. They didn't even wink. They didn't even, they were looking at her. They didn't do anything. Sad thing is, this happens today. People act like this now. This is what we were talking about with that whole Rudolf Steiner quote. People act like this. They are apathetic. They do not care what's going on. They do not care about their fellow people. So, it says, I will say, it doesn't state it here. I remember this book talking about how the Eloi basically had very fair skin. I think they're basically, the description is an almost like Aryan description. Like he's trying to show, maybe I shouldn't have even said that, but like Indo-Aryan, like it's of that sort of feel. Like it's a Nordic, group of people that he's trying to represent here. With this future group of people. And this is supposed to be the public, but now, instead of them being the way they are now and having their own unique culture and everything, they've all become dumbed down. Of that being said, I think what they're actually going for with this group of people is they're going to be a mix of all the groups of people, and they're going to be all mixed into one new being that is unable to do anything, that doesn't care what happens. They're just there for the joys of life, and that's it. So he says the too perfect security of the upper worlders had led them to a slow movement of degeneration, to a general dwindling of size, strength, and intelligence. That I could see clearly enough already. What had happened to the undergrounders, I did not yet suspect, but from what I had seen of the Morlocks are, the ruling elite. What I had seen of the Morlocks, that by the by was the name by which these creatures were called, I could imagine that the modification of human type was even far more profound than among the Eloi, the beautiful race that I already knew. So the ruling elite, And this is the crazy part. They're living underground. Well, we have all these articles now. What was that? What group of people did we hear had tunnels in New York? They have all these tunnels, not just in New York. They have them in Portland. What do they do in these tunnels? They are known. Sometimes they're known for trafficking and stuff. Hopefully, I can say that on YouTube. Who knows? We'll find out if this video lasts. But yeah, they have all these tunnels and they have these bunkers and shelters for them. It's almost like they're an underground group of people. This has esoteric meaning to it. This is not an accident. The ruling elite are an underground group of people, and they build cities and bases and everything underground. I mean, even in Kansas, it's the air capital of the world. There's been some stuff coming out about a particular, Spirit aircraft. And yeah, there's been stuff coming out about that where tunnels are involved and hookers are involved. Now, they haven't specified who those hookers are. They haven't given us much information, but I sort of suspect that even in my own local state, probably in every state, there's these tunnels underground. There's these undergrounds, if anything ever happens to society, the ruling elite can always hide out down there until whatever disease or catastrophe they created ends and they can resurface. It's sort of like, what do you think the Noah's Ark story was about? A man basically takes 2 of every animal. They actually have a facility where they keep every single seed in existence. So if they screw everything up, and don't think that they're not doing that intentionally, once they screw everything up, they can effectively enact a Noah's Ark type of policy to where they preserve everything they want to preserve down in their bunkers underground. And I think that's the actual meaning of this story. You can disagree with that, but there's definitely a meaning to it. So, we soon met others of that dainty ones, laughing and dancing in the sunlight. And this is a funny thing, just for those who've listened to a bit of my brief mentions of the difference between the Cro-Magnon and the Neanderthal. But the Cro-Magnon, they tended to be sun people. They were more into sun worship, sun calendars. And the reason for this is, and a lot of people say sun worship is bad. That's up to you to have your opinions on things. I think a lot of these beliefs got mixed later on, but the reason why it was a big thing back then was because the Cro-Magnon were working people. They were farmers. They wanted to produce good crops. They needed to know when to grow their crops. It was basically about sustaining life to them. So I think it's a little bit interesting that they're bringing up that sun imagery. So, laughing and dancing in the sunlight as though there was no such thing in nature as the night. See, the night is the undergrounders. They live in the dark. The people who used to produce and now no longer produce live in the light still, and they're oblivious to the fact that the darkness has consumed them. And then I thought once more of the meat that I had seen. I felt assured now of what it was, and from the bottom of my heart I pitied the last feeble rill from the great flood of humanity. He even brought up the flood. I forgot about that. Clearly, at some time in the long ago of human decay, the Morlocks' food had run short. Possibly they had lived on rats and such like vermin. I doubt that. They're trying to lead you off course. Even now, man is far less discriminating in his he's less discriminating and exclusive in his food than he was. Far less than any monkey. His prejudice against human flesh is no deep-seated instinct. And so these inhuman sons of men, I tried to look at the thing in a scientific spirit. After all, they were less human and more remote than that. are more remote than our cannibal ancestors of 3,000 or 4,000 years ago. So, yeah, the Morlocks are less human than our cannibal ancestors. Sort of sounds like that's where they derived themselves from, though. And the intelligence that would have made this state of things a torment had gone. Why should I trouble myself? These Eloi were mere fatted cattle. He used the word. These Eloi were mere fatted cattle, which the ant-like Morlocks preserved and preyed upon, probably saw to the breeding of. And there was Weena dancing at my side. Now, I'm not saying much. I'm just pointing it out. The ruling elite, just like the Morlocks, are an ant-like group of people. So, what does that mean? Yeah. Just in nature, if you got ants, they have tunnels, they live in the underground. They sort of work with a queen or like matriarchy type structure. That's what they're trying to bring us towards. That's what they want to bring about. They want to bring about a world ruler. And that world ruler is not going to be up here. They're going to be underground. Just telling you. It's sort of important to know.